Misfits, welcome to the Misfit Heroes podcast. My name is Chris, and together we are going on a journey. Now, if this is your first time here, welcome aboard. I'll catch you up. My podcast is normally about people trying to make the world a better place, but in my off season, I started making videos about how to make your own podcast. And today, I'm going to data dump on you about editing. That sounded weird. Hold up. Let me edit that out real quick. See what I did there? All right. So, you've started your podcast and you've recorded your first episode. Everything's good and finished, and you're ready to upload it to the internet, right?
False.
This week, let's talk about editing software. There's a ton of them out there, and they have learning curves that can be as steep as a cliff. So, I'm going to give you some ideas as to which editing software is right for you and why you may want to edit your podcast to begin with. First, do you even need to edit your podcast at all? Well, the short answer is yes, but let me explain why. Firstly, if you watch my previous episode about headphones, we talked about logorrhea, which is when people naturally talk over one another in conversation.
He's nice, bit of a close talker.
A what?
You'll see.
Couple that with other issues like matching people's natural vocal volume, omitting breath noises, coughs, Freudian slips, and those pesky ums or ahs from people thinking while they're speaking, and before you know it, your podcast episode can last a lot longer than you intend to without any actual substance for someone to pay attention to. Even this nugget of information right here seems like it'd take a lot longer of me explaining it and going on and on about how the intricacies of some subject matter just takes a lot of energy to listen to, and you can't even pay attention when there's just too much data to focus on, especially when you're telling a story. See how hard that was to listen to?
The Wrap It Up box in stores now.
Even the most important parts of discussions can go on and on at times and make people naturally lose interest. Boring. So, how do we combat this effect? Well, with editing. Now, there are other schools of thought about this. Some people, they want to hear the entirety of a conversation word for word, and that is a totally valid point. There are also those that think that editing a conversation to make talking points and clips without full context is suppression, and it's unethical in picking and choosing what is being said. Also a valid point.
Get in your car!
I'm in my car. That's fair. Can you?
However, if you're watching this, I'm willing to bet that you've listened to a podcast or interview and you don't know which parts of it were edited. The reality is, any successful podcast or show that you've watched or listened to has been edited in some fashion, even if it's just to achieve better audio quality. So, let's get into how you can edit your podcast audio from simple to complex and what you'll need to sound like a pro. Here are my favorite choices for DAWs. Oh, in case you're wondering, DAWs stands for Digital Audio Workstation, but it really just means audio editing software. So, let's rank your audio editing options from easiest to hardest. All right, I'm going to start with the easiest way to edit your audio, and that's to let somebody else do it. I'm not going to lie, audio editing can be extremely time-consuming, and it can still not sound right if you don't know what you're doing. But if you're interested and you want to learn more, there are a ton of YouTubers out there that can show you how to get top-notch audio quality. One of my favorites is the Editing Podcast. Shout out to you guys. You guys have taught me quite a bit about doing this thing myself. Next up, if you don't feel like paying somebody else to do it for you, you can always use robots. AI is massively transforming the way audio editing can be done, and services like Descript and Auphonic can automatically do these things for you. I personally edit my podcast audio for sound level matching and time, and then I just push my audio through Auphonic, and I leave it at that. Now, if you're not aware, Descript is a software that creates a text-based transcription of either audio or video recordings, and then it allows you to edit out pieces of audio that you don't want by deleting words like you would in a Word document or a text file. Now, this can save you tons of time in editing, and it can save you from a steep learning curve as well. Auphonic is another great AI tool that allows you to easily master your audio levels to match two people talking, and it does everything for you. You simply upload your file up to their server, and you can do things like remove pauses or silent parts, match individual speakers' volumes, and you can set your volume levels throughout an entire recording to certain LUFS levels. Now, I'm sure if you're watching this, you want me to explain what LUFS means. Well, LUFS is a type of volume standard for different types of broadcast. I set mine to the television standard, which is -16 LUFS. In oversimplified terms, this controls what a reasonable volume level is across an entire recording. If you've ever been watching a TV show and a commercial comes on, and it seems like the commercial volume is twice as loud as the TV show you're watching,
we've been trying to reach you concerning your car's extended warranty.
well, that's because the LUFS volume is dramatically higher for the commercial than it is for the show. It's because the advertiser wants to catch your attention and literally grab your ears. And Auphonic can do this with a single click. So, let's say you don't want AI overlords to do everything for you. What would I recommend next? Well, my next easiest choice would be Audacity. It's a tried and true method of podcast audio editing, and it's fairly straightforward and easy to learn. It's a software that allows you to edit any audio file using the audio waveform in a graphic format. Quite simply, you just upload your audio file into the software, and it shows you what the sound looks like in a waveform. Then, if something seems too loud or you need to cut pieces out, with a few simple clicks and drags, you can edit the whole thing with ease. There's also a lot of added capability like noise removal, tone generators in case you want to bleep someone cursing.
2 1 and a glass of white wine.
Are you bleeping yourself?
Even sound normalization that can match different speakers' audio levels with a few simple clicks. All of this in a free software. It provides a ton of bang for the buck, and I've used this software for a long time. I definitely recommend it, and there are tons of users and experts out there that are willing to help you if you have any questions. The next software I'd recommend is sort of 50-50 in my book. It's one of those things you're either going to love and be a die-hard fan, or you're going to absolutely loathe. There does not seem to be an in-between. Hindenberg and Hindenberg Pro are a set of softwares that was originally designed for journalists traveling and reporting from the road. It's got all the fancy new AI features that everybody is trying to incorporate into their software, and the learning curve here can vary pretty greatly. Hindenberg is designed to improve your editing workflow, so if you're looking for something to save you a lot of time and effort, then this software might be what you're looking for. It has a similar feature to that Descript I was mentioned earlier, where you can edit your voice recordings like a Word document, but Hindenberg doesn't require the internet for this. So, if you're like me, and you have an internet connection that likes to be a drama queen, well, you can edit that offline in a pinch. You can also record directly into Hindenburg, which makes it sort of an all-in-one solution for podcasting and other forms of audio content. Like I said, there's a ton of people that swear by Hindenburg. I think it's great too. I think it's just a matter of whether or not you like the workflow of this software as to whether or not you'll love it. But if you want an all-in-one audio solution, well, this is probably going to be your best choice. Now, next up is a choice for my Apple users. It comes with your Mac, it's straightforward, and it's free. And yes, there's a way to get a Windows version in a virtual machine, but it's whack, and I won't be covering it. If you're interested in using this software on Windows that badly, I'd highly recommend another solution. It's just not worth it to go through all the struggles of just getting it to work. I'm talking, of course, about GarageBand. And if you've ever used it, again, you're either a lover or a hater. Me personally, I think it's too much work here. So I'm going to say I don't recommend it. But there are some features that I find interesting and useful, like the mobile app version, so you can edit on the go, the simple interface where you just hit record, boop, and you're ready to go, and the ability to just drag and drop recordings in on the fly for things like adding media clips or snippets from other videos for reference, things like that. But if I'm being honest, there's just not enough to work with here in my opinion, and that's why this is towards the harder to learn side of audio editing, but hey, it's free, so there's that. I'm going to include this next one as an honorable mention because there's a ton of people that use it and swear by it, so let's give the credit where it's due. Reaper is another solid choice for podcast audio editing because it's simple and lightly coded software, meaning that it's quick and it can run on just about any type of operating system easy and efficiently. It works on Windows, Mac, and Linux, and it runs so smoothly. So if you're using an older computer, you'll appreciate not having to wait for a bunch of loading screens or that dreaded beach ball on older Macs. Let's do a side note. Seriously, who thought it was a great idea to turn a beloved childhood beach activity into something dreaded like that? I mean, to this day, I associate beach balls with waiting and failing hard drives.
I'm built different.
Reaper is a solid choice if you're looking for quick edits and something that won't slow down your machine, as well as those looking for something to edit with where you won't have to use a supercomputer for it to work.
My CPU is a neural net processor, a learning computer.
Okay, drum roll please. Let's talk about my least favorite podcast editing software, and it's a tie between two industry standards. One I refuse to use out of sheer principle, and the other is, in my opinion, unnecessarily complex simply for the sake of being complex. Adobe Audition is basically the industry standard for audio editing. Does it work? Obviously. Do people love it? Sure. Will it do everything you want it to and then some? Yep. So then why do I hate it? Corporate. It's corporate. As weird as this is going to sound, a lot of people like podcasts because they have this sort of homegrown, from the ground up kind of feel to them. And while Adobe Audition is a perfectly fine software to use, I don't use it because I don't want this to become the standard. Anyone who's used any other Adobe product is going to be familiar with their Creative Cloud or CC suite. And look, it works great and seamlessly, but if all you need this for is for editing your podcast, it's overly costly, and it doesn't provide much benefit over the other softwares that I've mentioned here. I mean, if you're editing everything yourself, you're dropping $21 a month just to use your editing software. That's $250 a year just to record and edit your podcast. And it's just leading to other companies doing the same thing. And look, it's not about the money. Plenty of options on this list have costs associated with them. It's the software as a service model that has overtaken literally every industry in the world today that I disagree with. You shouldn't be held prisoner behind a paywall in order to make your content. That's going to kill podcasting, in my opinion. But, alas, people are still going to pay. So, hey, good for you. Great. I hope you enjoy it. So what's the other one I have a qualm with? Pro Tools. Another industry standard that's too complex for no reason. And it's more expensive than Adobe. Again, I'll reiterate, if you're just a hobbyist podcaster or you're just starting out, don't do this to yourself. To put it bluntly, I'd rather pay someone the monthly cost to edit my podcast than to pay for these softwares and figure out how to use them on my own. And when you start looking at the features, there's probably a ton of things there that you're not even ever going to use. So, which one do you think is best? Let me know down below in the comments, and if you have any questions about these or any other software I didn't talk about, I'll answer with as much gusto as I can. As always, thanks again for watching, Misfits, and if this helped you out at all, do me a favor and tap or click that like and subscribe button as gently as you prefer, and be sure to leave a rating or review of the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Truly, I love you. I know you could watch anyone else and you chose me, so I'm grateful for that. And as always, if you learn nothing else here, be kind, love one another, and be a hero.